Hey, what's going on, fellow trade geniuses? This is Philip, and kind of wanted to get the weekly outlook out to you guys. So the first thing I wanted to look at was the ES futures. So what I have here are turquoise lines that indicate areas of what I call volume support or volume resistance. So right now we're looking at a 240-minute chart or a 4-hour chart, and so basically, as you can see here, we're kind of still in a downtrend. We've got this downtrend line, and so that's keeping us from looking at going higher. But what I want to point out is that here we have here we have kind of a line in the sand at the 2366 area. What's I'd like to keep an eye on is if we keep grinding into this area, this whole area here from 2358 on up to 2380, there's a lot of resistance in here. If we keep grinding into that and we break this trend line, I think all bets are off, and I think then we resume runs to all-time highs. However, I think right now the futures we're at 2357.50. So I think anything that we start to see below that, we have somewhat of a void in volume relative to these higher support and resistance areas. So I think that's going to give us a lot of leeway down to the 2344 area. So I think anything inside here is just going to be noise, and it could chop in there a little bit tomorrow. Now if we start breaking down, really what I'm looking at is 2388 basically. If we break that, as you can see, there's just not a lot of volume in here from 2388 down to 2295 roughly. So you're basically just going to see what I think would be a big drop down here to this level. I just don't see a whole lot of support. As you can see, even when price did dip down, when we started making these lower lows, we still don't see a whole lot of volume coming in here at this area here and this area here. If we look over here, not a lot of volume to support those, but we do have volume here. So I would expect then that would provide a bounce back up like that short term. I think then we've got some more, I think then the downtrend has been established, and we need to see some technical breaks on the upside to turn that around. So that's kind of what we're looking at this week. I'm just going to cover the ES because everything else is just going to follow. But like I said, I think interesting level here. We'll see what happens this week between 2357 and 2344. I think that's just all noise in between there. Below 2344 it gets pretty interesting. I think that's when you've got to then just have your finger on the trigger, because then the next break at 2388 will take us down pretty fast. I think initially the 2317 low, that's just going to get tested right away. There might be a brief pause. That breaks, then it's on down to 2295, and that should provide a pretty decent bounce, maybe all the way back up to 2338. That's the way I'm seeing things play out. If anything changes drastically on that during the week, we will update that. But those are the key levels here, so you might want to make note of these levels and reference them during the week and see where we see how price bounces off of those. Okay, so let's take a look now at the VIX. Okay, so as you can see on the VIX here, we've had some movement up to the upside. We actually peaked out at 15, so that's the highest since back in November. So something to definitely raise the eyebrows. As I said last week, I thought we'd see some upside on the VIX, and the observation I have for last week is that the VIX seemed to have changed behaviorally compared to what the market was doing. I think on Friday the typical VIX behavior. We should have seen a lower VIX, and I just didn't see that relative to the market grinding higher. Then we had kind of a dump toward the end of the day. So VIX was elevated. I just think we see some. I think there might be a change in the tide from all of this VIX smashing that's been propelling the market higher. Because right now they're just basically what it seems to be. The market has just boiled down to funneling a bunch of money into the large caps, into SPY, and the mechanism for that is when you have risk or rule-based funds, risk parity funds. Basically it's if VIX is down X, then they buy into large caps because the risk is supposedly low, and that's so that's how those things work. And so they'll do that. The Bank of Japan, they're devaluing the yen. That's plays along into the carry trade that gets funneled into the SPY as well. So you basically, there's just like they're squeezing every little thing out that they can keep this market up. I think that if you look at the internals, you look at transports, things like that, you just see that it's not supporting where we are in the market. So I think there's a lot of upside for VIX, which means there's just downside to ES and the indices. So that's just I like to trade the charts. I don't like getting biased because that can kind of screw you up. But I do think that you can't ignore the warning signs that are here. And it seems like all the mechanisms that they're using are having less and less of an effect on propping up the market. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. But this week, I think there's a potential for more upside on the VIX, and we'll see if we can take out this 15. And if we do, that's going to set up a lot of opportunities for us on the binary option side. Already we're seeing better premiums, I noticed, in the evening. If you're in the advanced room, you'll notice that some of the hourly contracts are actually gaining premiums back, whereas before they'd just be pretty dried up. So we should see some more action on that this week. What would trump that would be basically bots just going crazy to the upside with the indexes, and then we just have more VIX smashing. But you can only do that so much for so long, and already we're seeing the effects waning on that. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at on that. If we want to look at the comparison, which we like to do on the other VIX indices related to currencies, we can see that we're kind of congregating together. We don't like this separation where the main VIX is low and the currency VIX is high. That doesn't help us out at all on premiums for Nadex and binary options. Now they're getting more in line. Once we start getting to a situation where VIX starts popping above, like in here, plenty of opportunities, and every day we'll have signals every day. So hopefully we get above 13, the magic line in the sand, for when premiums really start to become playable, and basically we get reliable signals every day. So that's improving, and hopefully we get more signals this week based on that. All right, let's take a look at the different forex pairs and see what's shaping up for the week. Okay, so kind of here's our big view of all the different Nadex pairs. Just so this doesn't get super confusing, basically I just have these in quadrants. So like these four squares are just different time frames. What we like to do is concentrate on. I like to look at the these upper two, and what that is that's kind of our oversold, overbought channels that we will combine into the probability signal. And I have two different channel settings, and one is kind of, they're both are related to VIX. So if VIX is getting crushed and suppressed, what you end up seeing are more moves that are just kind of, I would say, manipulated. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at, for example, we take a look at EG, All right, let's pop that up. Okay, so we just you get these hourly bars, or actually in this case, this is 15-minute bars. Well, you get a lot of little bars, and they just keep going, going, going. It's just a very controlled walk down. Okay, and so that's what we saw. This was already oversold, kind of down in here, and then it just dumped even further before it leveled out. Um, so you tend to see that type of move when the VIX is really low. You see all these little bars, little bars, little bars. Just just there isn't a lot of wicks and things like that we would typically want to see on a more volatile environment. This is kind of what I'm talking about here. We have this is more movement that we're used to, and that we get nice bounces off of. But then you start getting into like these little tiny little bars, and very steady, just down, 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 or up, up, up. That's kind of the stuff that we see when VIX gets low, and how it affects currency movements. So wanted to point that out to you guys. So in regards to things setting up for oversold, overbought, right now we're just going to kind of wait to see what plays out. GJ, I suspect would probably start getting into overbought, or I'm sorry, yeah, overbought. GU, traditionally that's getting close to overbought, but unless VIX is higher, I'm going to rely on this channel here to indicate that the extremes are getting met. We're also going to keep a look or an eye out on the way the move looks. So if we see just a very coordinated move, and it's just grinding, 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 then we're not probably going to be eager to jump into that, because they'll just keep grinding. They'll grind for a way. The overbought will just stay overbought, and it's going to grind. And that's just something that we've seen consistently with low VIX readings. Once VIX pops, then we get more bouncy movement. Like if you look at this GJ chart here, that's what we kind of are used to seeing on a VIX environment that's higher. But on a low VIX environment, then you kind of get like what you see here on the EG. You see that kind of just slow little bars, just kind of just waterfalling. All right, so I just wanted to point that out, that behavior. So when it comes to the currencies, pound I think has more upside. I think the dollar scare, or the Brexit scare, I think has somewhat played out. If we look at a little bit longer time frame, I think this is a nice bottom. I think this is a larger head and shoulders, and I think pound goes higher this week. I think this was just an overreaction on the Brexit. This got way oversold. Doesn't reflect here on the channel now because the channel adapted, but it was way, way, way oversold, and I just think that was just. I don't think there was any surprise Article 50 was getting invoked. It was just a knee-jerk reaction, and I think the algos just kind of piled on. But in reality, I think the pound's going higher, and I think it's going quite a bit higher. So what I see here is an inverted head and shoulders formation on the 2-hour, and I think that breaks out. Okay, so let's take a look at UJ. I think that's a pretty important pair to look at, because it's the carry trade and all that, and they love to use it to ramp the ES, and you can kind of see there is a definite downtrend on the USD JPY, much like there is on the ES. So if you watch during the day, if you start seeing ramps during the day, then you'll notice that coinciding with ES. So here we had a ramp at 11. Here we had another ramp at 11. Here they tried to, didn't really do anything. But you'll see 11, you know, is something to keep an eye on. It's not super consistent, but if you start around that time after the market is kind of opened and kind of settled, you start looking at UJ. If UJ starts to ramp, it's quite probable that ES is going to go along with it. We had some pretty severe ramping going on here, but I think this is going to roll over, guys. I think this is just, I don't think UJ is going higher. I think it's going to get crushed. I think if we break 110, I think you're going to also see some fireworks. That's going to coincide with some fireworks in the market. So keep an eye on the 110 level on UJ. I think that's important this week. Let's see if there's anything else really standing out. I really don't see too much that's actionable. Like I said, GU in a normal VIX environment, we'd probably be looking at doing something there, but not yet. 2620 area, we'll start looking at that. EG, that was just taking a walk in the park. That had a lot to do with the euro. Euro was just getting walked last couple Thursday, Friday last week. So we'll see how that plays out and how that's acting. I'm a little suspect of it though. We'll see. It could continue downward pressure. I think there's more downward pressure on it because the pound's going to go higher. Is my thought there. Odd USD. Kind of bouncing off levels that would be considered kind of oversold, but on our channel, that our low VIX channel, as I like to reference it, we still got more to go. So if we start heading down into the 7600 area, we'll start looking at support and resistance in that area. If we look at, zoom out here, so 7600 does have some decent support resistance through here, so it might be an area to play. Otherwise, I don't see a whole lot to keep it from dropping to 7500, and 7500 I think has a better opportunity for a bounce. So 7600 may not be super ideal for a long-term bounce, but maybe on a 1 or 2 hour time frame for sure. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's kind of it for the Nadex pairs, as far as what's coming up. All right, let's take a look at the news for the week and see how that's going to affect our trading time frames. All right, so here we are, kind of looking at the high impact news items. We've got some Australian news, so that's going to affect the odd USD. We'll keep an eye on that. Monday we've got some pound related news, and our ISM for US news, high impact. Aussie's got trade balance at 9:30 on Monday evening, and into midnight more Aussie news. So we've got actually there's quite a bit of Aussie news this week, so that's going to probably provide some volatility on that pair. Pound, we've got some more early morning news on Tuesday. And I'm just focusing on the Nadex pairs. More pound news Wednesday. USD, we've got ADP non-farm on Wednesday morning before the market. At 10 we got ISM crude and FOMC minutes. So Wednesday minutes probably stay off of anything around that time, and probably into the evening. Minutes, they're going to look, read between the lines and see if there's anything that they're signaling. I know they want to do more rate hikes this year. I think I'm gonna be on the camp that calls a bluff on that. I think they might have one more, but you can't, with GDP disintegrating, I mean, they keep revising it lower. Really, you're gonna raise rates into that? It's crazy. I just don't think that that materializes. They're also signaling that the markets are overheating to a certain degree, which I interpret as they're afraid of a disorderly unwind, and they'd rather see kind of like a pullback and signal that things could take a break and pull back. So that's something else to keep in mind. It's interesting that they would have that language last week, I thought. So that's my interpretation of that. Thursday we've got unemployment claims in the morning. I'm not, these unemployment claims, these morning reports don't seem to really rattle the markets anymore. So pound on Friday, more pound related, and then we have some CAD news on Friday as well, and then our employment figures on Friday as well. So we don't have a lot from the FOMC other than the Wednesday minutes. Last week we had a flurry of speakers. We do have one on Tuesday. Tarullo speaks, and speaking at Princeton. So anyway, we'll see what happens there, but that's probably probably not really much going to happen off of that. Would I trade during that hour? Probably not. I would probably wouldn't take any 5 p.m. expirations regarding forex contracts on Nadex. So that's about it for the trading weekend as far as news and what to look for. So quite a bit of pound and Aussie news, so we wouldn't probably be taking positions going into those announcements unless there was something that was overriding. There's an extreme situation and there was just low-hanging fruit to be taken advantage of. Probably wouldn't be in a position prior to those announcements. So that's about it for the week. So yeah, overall trend, I think chances of ES ending lower on the week, I think are favorable. I think could it chop too? Yeah, I think it could chop. But I think there was a pretty good effort to get things ramped up toward quarter end on Friday, and then I think after that, things kind of sold off. Interestingly, if we take a look at the ES here, now this is a 60-minute chart. Okay, and so these are the levels that I had posted on the 4-hour chart. You can see here we've just we reopened about an hour ago. More tails, more sell tails, and now we're pushing lower. So if we break below this 23, this prior low here from Friday, where the ramp fest started, this just was, we did a nice spread on this in the advanced room. We got like 71 or 72 ticks equivalent on spread contracts, and then we as we headed into this level, this volume level, we exited. But if we break below this, then I think we get into that area here tomorrow where we could spend some time. Obviously 2357 is going to be a level overnight that we'll see if that breaks, and then also this level here, which is the yesterday low of 2353. Those break down, then I think likely we see this 2344 area get tested. All right, and that was the prior week close. So prior week VWAP was 2349. Weekly pivots 2351. Then we have our S1, 2, and 3. We'll have our deviations. Those should come out here in about an hour and a half. And if we get to a -5 deviation level overnight, that's typically one to fade. Where that will be, I don't know yet, but we'll shout that out in the advanced room. Alright guys, I think I've taken up enough of your time. Thanks for watching. If you want to join us in the advanced room on the binary side, sign up. I think you'll there's a lot of good minds in there, and a lot of good conversations, and a lot of different concepts that we talk about, as well as some room only stuff that we will do just because it's because of the situation we can't really tweet it out. So anyway, we'll take a look at that. One thing to note, if you look at the EG, you notice I was talking about this kind of action here where it just trickles down. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that I that to me is low VIX action. Walk, 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 walk. This is an hourly chart, and then we kind of got it turn around, walk, walk, walk up. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's the kind of action we try to avoid, just because it doesn't. There's no. It's not really organic. There's not a lot of bouncing going on, and that's really what we like to get, those bouncing environments. When things get oversold, they tend to bounce, and we get a nice move out of it. And but when it's like this, it'll just keep going. This was an area here, 85.80 was an oversold area on Friday. Briefly paused there, and then just rolled right over and just kept going. You know what I mean? So, and there isn't even on a downtrend like this. There's not even much of a pullback that you can really short. We have a setup for that too, for pullbacks, but nothing. It just it's just a steady down trickle. So you get into these oversold environments, and they stay oversold, and typically you like to wait for a nice pullback to get short again. They don't even allow for that. So that's kind of again what we see. If it was high VIX, I highly doubt you'd see such a controlled, manipulated move down, but that's what we see. So all right, that's about it, guys. I think it's going to be, volatility picks up this week, so we should have some good opportunities. So I wish you happy trading, and we'll get out another video as things progress. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.